not just with each other, but interact with God when they're in this state of sinfulness, okay? That's how sin comes into the world, and it introduces all of these elements, and it draws us away from the love of God when we sin and serve ourselves and are disobedient to God. That's how. Because he has chosen, rather than repenting, Adam tries to justify himself in the face of God. Yes.
Yeah, you said something about being afraid. I'm not afraid of nothing, and I've seen that.
I've seen that actually.
Yeah. And my thing is, you said that God, Adam and Eve, bit into the apple.
Right.
I look at it like this too. If they didn't bite into the apple, and I tell people all the time, it'd be so hot during the summertime, I can go naked.
Well,
Don't care. But my mother,
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Adam. I'm sorry.
my mother, my mother, my grandfather said, "Boy, you walk down the street naked, you going to jail."
yes, well, they've known that. I've had to bail parishioners out. I don't want to have to do that for you. Yeah. They don't teach us that in seminary, how to bail people out from jail. But they learn it on the street.
So, what was actually the first sin?
What
Adam and Eve eating the apple, or the animosity of the snake?
Well, and of course, Satan himself, and we'll hear this today in the story from Revelation, because it is the Sunday of St. Michael and all angels, so the first reading is that story. You know, the angels are a different created order, and Satan is a fallen angel. So he had a choice to serve, and rebelled. Lucifer, the light bearer, he was created to be an archangel, and chose not to serve. And of course, then we have the war in heaven, and Michael and his angels fight against Satan, and so you'll hear that today. So that's a whole. We're talking about the human sinfulness. Okay. That creation is outside of that battle is outside of our time and space continuum. So it happened before Adam and Eve. It happens during Adam and Eve, and it happens after Adam and Eve because heaven is outside of our time and space continuum. Does that make sense? C.S. Lewis talks about that. It's a fun thing to look at how can God know our end as well as our beginning. It's because he's outside of our time and space. Okay. He's seeing the choices we're making and are making because he's outside of that. That's how he can be everywhere and in all places at all times.
I have another question.
So on a strictly human term, it's Adam and Eve.
All right.
But there was certainly disobedience.
Because it was looking at sin as sin, and so where does the original sin fall?
Where's the original sin as far as it affects human beings, affects us? Okay, let's jump to the next one. Might be next? Who's next?
I already read.
Okay, Andre, can you read just 5 and A, 1 and 2?
Okay, 5. How could the...
Wait, I mean this.
What is evil?
Okay, 5, yeah. What is evil? Adam, Eve is
Evil.
Me.
That's a funny word. It's privation.
What is...
It means to be deprived.
Eve is a private of good, not
Created.
evil, but something this denied goodness.
Right?
2, spoiling some good things God has made.
Okay, now this is, of course, an argument you will hear very frequently. Why would God create evil? Okay? And the answer is, he didn't. Okay?
Right.
The bigger question is, why does God allow evil to exist? Right? That is a valid theological argument. But God did not create evil. Evil, there's no vacuums in spiritual theology, right? When you take something good out of the story of God's created goodness, it's not just an empty space. Instead, what fills that is evil. It's a privation or a depriving of the goodness of God. When we take the goodness of God out of a situation, out of a person, out of a place, it doesn't just exist without God. What fills that vacuum, the lack of God's goodness, is the reality of evil. Okay? So it's not that God has created evil. The evil's the reality that happens because human beings, by their choices, affected by original sin, or if not just original sin, just our actual choices, decide that we're not going to. And it has to do with free will. It has to do with the reality that we are free to make these choices every day. We're talking about this. I don't want to give you anticipation of the sermon in half an hour, but it's or 45 minutes. But you know, we talk about these free will choices that we have every day to serve God and to love God and to do our own darn thing, whatever way we want to. So, so we want to make sure that we realize that God has not created evil. Evil is a reality of our sinfulness. Okay, would you read 5b?
Evil is a way of acting. Something with free will acts contrary to goodness. Satan is a created being who rejected goodness.
Okay, and he was created good. Remember, Satan was created good. He was an angel. He rejects goodness. Keep going.
Evil and sin are fundamentally identical. The devil cannot create or destroy. He can only spoil and ruin.
Okay, remember that, right? The devil cannot make you do it. No, okay? Right? You can't, there's not an excuse. I know all those fun little cute commercials with the devil up on one shoulder and the angel on the other, and go ahead, have a slice of pizza before you get home, you know, kind of thing, right? It's all cute, makes good theater, but the devil can only suggest and attempt to deceive. He cannot create, he cannot force you to do anything. He may try to trick you, however. He can only spoil and ruin things. He can't destroy them. He also can't create them. Okay, well, so the big question is, if God didn't create evil, why in the world does he put up with it? Go ahead, Ian. Number...
You talked about this in 20s, 30s.
There we go.
Why does the good God tolerate evil? Love for all creatures, which precludes removing free will. To be human, we must firmly be free to obey and disobey, and experience the consequences of both. God does intervene in our lives in response to prayer.
Okay. Best example I've heard of this. How ridiculous would it be, probably criminal, to be dating a girl in college or high school or whatever people date, I guess, and to say, I'm going to make you love me. Oh no. Okay?
That would be
No,
cute.
actually, it may be said kind of in a fun sort of way. I suppose that probably happens. Don't worry, darling, you're going to love me, and I'm going to show you how, right? That's different. The idea that we can force someone to love you is really quite ridiculous. You cannot be compelled to love. Love is a choice, okay? In order for us to really understand and comprehend what love is, we must be free to choose or reject that love, okay? Otherwise it's not love. It's some sort of sick, stalking, involved, weird thing.
Yes, it is.